Yo, check it out. It's the new fire truck from the Vehicles of the World Content Creator Pack. Wow, they just extinguished that fire nearly instantly and they practically just got off the truck. Greetings, fellow mayors, and welcome back to Noyou Port City, a narrative gameplay experience. To recap the first episode, this is basically how we started the city, and we will continue with the 78,000 bank balance at 4,000 population with a weekly income of about 2,000. Our first tile is nearly filled in, so we will go ahead and unlock the left and the right tiles, which is hinted by the direction of our avenues. After starting the city, we now have two priorities. First is to reach the high density milestone, which is at 8,000 population. And the second objective after starting your city is to improve your weekly income by establishing our first industry area. And of course, another way to improve our weekly income is by spiking up our tax up to 12%. This is the maximum until they so that they don't abandon their establishments or homes. Whenever you start to build in a new area, always observe the terrain before you construct anything. So in this area, I can see a slight or a minor slope where the large ploppable buildings are not advised to be planted. However, tiny 4x4 structures such as zoned buildings can adapt to the slope, and we only see minor cracks on the earth. And that is because I have intentionally made the blocks larger to give ample space for the lumps or cracks to smooth themselves out. While on the smaller blocks, for instance this, the earth cracks are much more apparent. However, since we are using a map theme which changes the cliff textures, the rough edges looks much more natural than the vanilla cliff soil. With that said, while on ×3 game speed so we can accumulate more income per week, we will start with the Forestry, which is also our first industrial area that also happens to be my favorite type of industry. Oil may be the best industry type which can earn more income per week, but forestry is one of the most versatile when it comes to design. For instance, check out the PDXCon Green Suburb City where I diversified the forestry extractor blocks to an interesting shape than just having them as squares. Another example is from Fisher Enclave City, where the forestry areas look much more interesting, and best of all, these designs were accomplished without any game-changing mods like Move It and with no Steam assets. We have enough forestry in place to switch on getting more residents to move in our city as indicated by the demands. Season 1 was purely vanilla with absolutely no mods, while Season 2 introduced visual mods, and for this season, it will be a lightly modded city for the purpose of completing the build sooner rather than later. Mods like Move It will help us build smooth bridges more quickly that will cut down the build time to mere seconds than several minutes. I will be using Quay Anarchy mod to cut down the time on adding keys on land, and ultimately this is all just to progress more quickly and take less time in video production. Nevertheless, everything can still be accomplished in vanilla. It will just be a much longer route. One of the first issues your city will get is garbage accumulation, so it is important to have a location to place your garbage facilities. I highly suggest to place your trash disposal buildings on the edge of the map so your waste is not right smack in the middle of your city. Whenever creating a new area, do not forget to add services such as the elder care and child care buildings, a cemetery, and a police and fire department. These facilities have a happiness area which will help level up surrounding structures. Slowly yet surely, our weekly funds are improving, while our residential population still has a long way to go to reach that 8,000 population for that high density unlock. Looking at our funds, we have enough bank to plop down at least one other forestry building. So while we are slowly gaining population, we are also increasing our weekly income with the forestry industry. It also appears that we are starting to lack drinking water and a sewage maintenance building. Since the introduction of inland sewage from the Sunset Harbor DLC, I have since completely avoided to use any water pumping or sewage draining. Let's leave the innocent sea life alone and live with our own waste by using the inland water treatment plant. For water consumption, I simply use water towers that are scattered strategically where there are no pollution nearby, such as in nearby forestry extractors. We have reached level 2 of our forestry industry, and since our bank is running low, I will take this opportunity to give a short tutorial on how industry DLC works for new friends in the channel, and we will simultaneously save up some bank during the explanation. First, you will need to zone an industry district, then select an industry type, and plop down its main building. Then the level 1 structures will be available. For instance, we have the small tree plantation and the sawmill that produces plain timber. To view the industry info panel, you can click on any of the buildings, then click on the industry area info in the lower right of the pop-up window. Extractors, which are the tree fields, but instead of using the word plantation, we will call them fields because plantation has a negative connotation and I just feel uncomfortable even saying the word. And I could imagine that there may be others who are uncomfortable in hearing the word. In any case, the extractors are indicated on the top of the pyramid, while there are 2 processing types in each industry. In this case, we currently only have the plain timber from the sawmills. Since we have unlocked the second tier of the forestry industry, we can now use the biomass pellet, which produces paper. I will plop this down right here. And when I plop this down, you will see that it unlocked the paper path right here. And to level up an industry, you will need to fulfill the requirements from the produced resources and number of workers as indicated here. Produced resources are from when your processing buildings receives lumber from your extractors or are imported. Then the produced goods, which is either paper or timber, will count as a produced resource, which will then be exported or delivered to your city that may require the resource, like your unique factories or possibly commercial buildings. And to get more workers, each building provides workplaces that will add to your required work count to achieve the next level. The industry-specific facilities do not provide workplaces. However, if you have an overabundance of extracted material, in this case lumber, then they can be stored in these structures until they are required. The stored buildings provides a great aesthetic look to your industry area, but they also attract more traffic due to the transfer of goods. To reduce the traffic from your storage facilities, simply set the storage building to fill and you will just have an aesthetic structure. When you see this not enough buyers for products in your industry DLC area, you may have too many extractors, and to solve this, either add more processing buildings or add a storage facility. I will add in a storage facility. And don't forget to set this on fill. And that should vanish soon. There you go. Now it's gone because it is now transferring goods to this facility. And in this season, I will attempt to make all 4 industry types to have 0 imports. It will not be accomplished in this episode, but I did make a past video on how to accomplish this. The link will be at the end of the video. And since we are establishing our forestry industry, we can slowly start to de-zone our dirty yellow industry area and transfer the pollution producing buildings such as the power plant and the landfills to our little corner right here. And speaking of power, let's actually check. Yep, we are running low on power, so I might as well add another power plant. And again, don't mind how we are literally just dumping all our rotten eggs in this corner. Greatness all begins with a not so pleasant journey. And we do have Move It mod to transfer our landfill sites, but I am just gonna use the recycling center, and hopefully this would help transfer. Let's see what happens, or we'll just leave it as that, and let's go ahead and start dezoning. So again, this may look like it's clean, but it is actually quite polluted. But it only appears clean because we have Hide It mod that hides pollution. But they are definitely dirty. I'm gonna go ahead and just delete them as well. Okay, so a fair warning that when you remove your yellow industry, that would actually reduce your weekly income. So be careful when doing that. But that would also spike up your industry demand. So now you could actually add in more structures on this end, which will help build up your economy again. Okay, so now we have a good balance of our residential and industry demand, but we now need to start expanding because we are still 3,000 shy of reaching that 8,000k population for our high density milestone. From time to time, when funds become available, I will be returning to the forestry industry to plop down new buildings to fulfill the upgrade requirement of the produced resource and worker count. Since not all the forestry structures are unlocked, I am simply plopping down buildings when they are needed and where space is provided, without having a second thought on design. I find it futile to commit a design until all the structures are available at the max level. And we are now a busy town. Achieving a new milestone gives us a slight boost in bank, which we want to use to purchase more forestry structures that will increase our weekly income. However, it is much more important to first check for any immediate service needs your city may require. Just do a quick glance around your city and see if there are any alert icons popping up just like that. Oh, let's check out this house. Is it a coincidence that the house looks abandoned and really run down and has crime? In any case, what would be really ironic is if our forestry has crime just like in Season 2 Fisher Enclave City. Now that I have serious crime in my forestry, almost this is gonna be 2 seasons in a row. Let's check our police station, and yeah, we are nearly full in our jail capacity, which explains why crime is rampant. What is that? What shenanigans is going on here? This has been going on throughout the series, and I am starting to believe that there is a criminal syndicate that is using the logging site as a front. They may not be just chopping wood, and this may not just be sawdust.
This is unacceptable. I am the mayor of Fisher Enclave City, and I will not tolerate any criminal activity without being compensated. What is the point of being a mayor if I am not bribed to look the other way?
I actually do know why crime is rampant in my industry area. That is because I don't have any police stations nearby. It just seems a little strange if I plopped a police station in the industry area when the industry structures would never abandon just because of crime, whereas a zoned building would abandon if crime persists. And it is actually kind of fun to see other activities in my industry areas. Okay, let's continue expanding our forestry. Again, I am not fully committing to a design just yet until we have unlocked the final level of the industry and we will have all the structures available to us. Then we can really define how we will design our forestry area. As I mentioned previously, that you can sneak in to add water towers in your industry areas as long as it is not near any processing buildings that produces pollution. Having multiple water towers in your forestry industry makes a lot of sense in case there was a fire outbreak. Then they would have a water supply ready to extinguish the flames before it gets out of control. Of course, water towers are not actually used to extinguish flames in Cities Skylines. It is just an overall makes sense to have them there. We have reached level 4 forestry and try to keep an eye on our imports because one of my goals is to have 0 imports. We produce the same resource, so there's no reason why we should be importing anything when we are making it in our industry. In any case, we are level 4, and to reach level 5, we simply need to add more forestry facilities to increase the workforce required, while the required produce resource will basically manage itself. Our weekly income has been stable, and we also need less than 1,000 population to reach the 8k pop for the high density unlock. And wow, still 0 import at ×3 speed. The furniture factory, here, let me place this down. The furniture factory, which requires plain timber and paper materials, is now available in the Unique Factories tab. This particular factory manufactures furniture which have incredible value. Therefore, we want to spike up the production rate to the max to get the maximum profit. There are other unique factories such as the printing press, but this requires paper and plastic, which are manufactured in the oil industry. Therefore, we will not use this structure until we have an oil industry established. Our industry demands have completely flatlined, so we are back to expanding our residential road network and zoning in more homes for Sims to move in. Meanwhile, check out our income where it hits more or less 10,000k per week, and our bank is holding steady at over 200,000 simoleons. It is safe to say that we have accomplished to improving our economy in the early game. As we have provided more industry jobs, more Sims are moving into the city, swelling our population to nearly 8,000, which we need to unlock the high density milestone. Speaking of which, we just hit the big town milestone and our forestry industry also hit the max level. I have replaced at least one biomass pellet with the level 5 pulp mill just to add a slight variety of structures in the area. We are also going to go ahead and finalize the design of our forestry by filling in the blocks with trees. It appears that there is a violent power struggle within the crime syndicate in my forestry industry. And this is really starting to get out of hand, and I might need to build a prison just to increase our jail capacity. Unfortunately, we didn't get the new fire truck this time, but in any case, a great DLC or content. Hey, there it is. There's that fire truck. A little late, buddy. As I was saying, a great DLC or content creator pack idea, if City Skylines 2 is still in production, hopefully it is, would be a services DLC or CCP for police, fire, and medical, because all we're doing for those services is just plopping down buildings. It'll be kind of nice if you could decorate it a little more with more assets. And now notice how our forestry isn't confined to just squares. By planting trees of the same type in the irregular shaped blocks, we now have a more interesting pattern. Be mindful of the built-in trees from certain buildings and match the surrounding trees from the built-in trees in the facilities. I am now just adding a fence on our blocks just to add a little more detail into the area. I think for now we are done with the forestry industry, so let's zoom out to see how it looks. We will dezone and redo everything on the lower half and replace them with high density. Oh my, our east side just have mass crime, but fortunately the big town milestone unlocked the large police station with more police vehicles and more jail cells. What other issues have we? I have been playing ×3 speed while planting those trees in our forestry area, so it makes sense that this side of the city is collapsing without our knowledge. We also needed more garbage facilities, and we also now have the incinerator available to empty the landfills. Okay, we will not bother demolishing the abandoned buildings. They will eventually manage themselves. We have basically fulfilled their needs by adding another police station and more garbage facilities. So now let's take a look back at our forestry, and it seems to have an overabundance of lumber. So I am going to add more storage facilities. I may also expand the forestry in the next episode while starting the farming industry. If you look at our city demands, Sims just wants jobs, and we also need to further improve our weekly income, so it works both ways. Okay, let's check out the city stats. Our traffic flow is at 91%, at 90% at... Wow, it's actually ticking down. Why is that? Oh, this thing. Yeah, that makes sense. Alright, let's check our traffic again a little later. And let's go ahead and empty these out. And since we now have ample bank, we can afford to just delete all of these buildings and just repurchase them. Let's see what else. Let's check our water. We have ample water but not enough sewage, so that means we can delete this. This will manage itself. Let's go ahead and dezone everything here so that in the next episode we can just... Hopefully the pollution here will be gone by then, and we can just start building or expanding our high density in this area. Right. Okay, what I did there was actually quite dangerous because I was playing on ×3 speed and I didn't have it on pause. Alright, so let me just quickly plop these guys down. Make sure that they don't abandon. What else did we need? Oh, we still need more. Wow, okay. Alright, we're gonna add a little more. Excuse the crew design. We will improve this in the next episode as we are doing the farming industry. Okay, so we have enough water. Our electricity is good. Crime is still a little rampant. Let's see, we need some hospitals or death care. Okay, let's find a decent place. You know what, I almost forgot. So we updated these roads, so now our traffic flow is at 94.95, which it should be because we only have like what, 9k pop. All right, so I am pretty happy with the progress of our city, and here is looking forward to the next episode. Okay, fellow mayors, this episode actually took longer to release, I did have a version 1 that I had last week, but it was 1 hour long and it didn't even get to 8,000 population or level 5 industry. So this version may took longer to release, but we did have more accomplished in so little time. Therefore, I will need your feedback if the game speed and time lapses were comprehensible or was it a little too fast. I seriously need to know because it will determine the pace for future episodes. Until then, if you are kind enough to support the channel, feel free to subscribe, comment, and like. This is Captain Obvious, and I thank you for being part of the 4th journey on creating Noyou Port City. You all take care and see you soon.